This is the shocking truth about the FBI watch list on these famous black celebrities. Let's uncover the truth. Join me as I dive into the shocking stories of famous black entertainers who were secretly watched by the government. Nina Simone. Nina Simone was labeled a radical extremist by the FBI, not for committing crimes, but for refusing to stay silent. The FBI monitored her friendships with Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They tracked her speeches, her travel, and her overseas activity. Songs like Mississippi Goddamn put her on federal watch lists. The result was a career deliberately disrupted, venues closed, opportunities blocked, pressure applied. Her music told the truth, and the truth made the government uncomfortable. Billie Holiday. They didn't come for Billie Holiday because of drugs. They came for her because of a song. Strange Fruit exposed the lynching of black men in America during the 1930s. And that truth terrified powerful people. The FBI tracked her, worked with narcotics agents, harassed her, arrested her, followed her relentlessly. Not because she was a criminal, but because she sang the truth. She had one of the largest FBI files of any black entertainer. Her passport was seized. Her career was sabotaged. This wasn't justice. This was retaliation. Paul Robeson. During the 1940s, McCarthyism destroyed many black entertainers by branding them communists. Paul Robeson was one of its biggest targets. Born in 1898, Robeson was a Renaissance man, an elite athlete, actor, singer, scholar, and activist. Despite supporting Allied forces during World War II, his black nationalist and anti-colonial views made him a threat. In 1950, his passport was revoked. He was banned from performing overseas. His career was suffocated. A colleague later said Robeson was the most persecuted black man in America. James Baldwin. James Baldwin wasn't hunted because he broke the law. He was hunted because he broke illusions. The FBI labeled him a subversive intellectual, a threat with words. They monitored his speeches, read his essays line by line, tracked his travel, mapped his relationships, not to stop crime, but to contain ideas. Under J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI opened a file on Baldwin for exposing the violence embedded in America itself. This was ideological surveillance, thought policing. Baldwin wasn't dangerous to America. He was dangerous to the lie America told itself. Muhammad Ali was the greatest boxer alive. But when he refused the Vietnam draft, the FBI opened a file. He was labeled a threat for his anti-war influence. His passport was revoked. His career was intentionally disrupted. The files show coordination between the FBI and the Department of Justice. Malcolm X was one of the most powerful speakers against black oppression. He faced heavy FBI and NYPD surveillance. Infiltrators were planted inside his organizations. Monitoring intensified after his split from the Nation of Islam. Files released decades later confirm constant tracking. Under Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The largest FBI file in history belongs to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was labeled a radical, surveilled under COINTELPRO, phones tapped, hotel rooms bugged. The FBI even attempted to blackmail him to stop his activism. His file exceeded 17,000 pages. These files don't expose criminals. They expose a government afraid of truth and willing to silence black voices to protect power. Harry Belafonte had an FBI file, not because he committed a crime, but because he funded freedom and spoke truth with power. The FBI tracked him for decades. His speeches, his travel, his money. They watched who he met with, who he supported, who he inspired. Belafonte helped finance the civil rights movement. He supported Martin Luther King Jr. He openly challenged racism, colonialism, and U.S. power. that made him dangerous. Under J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI labeled him subversive, not for violence, not for criminal plots, but because he had fame, resources, and courage, and he used all three against injustice. This was not surveillance for safety. This was punishment for resistance. Harry Belafonte's real crime was standing on the right side of history. Sidney Poitier was monitored by the FBI, though not targeted as aggressively as figures like Malcolm X or Dr. King. What the FBI watched, and why Associations Poitier was connected to civil rights leaders, activists, and politically outspoken artists during the 1950s and 60s. Political climate. In the Cold War and McCarthy era, the FBI routinely opened files on prominent black figures who supported civil rights or challenged segregation. International travel, his overseas travel and global influence drew attention. Hollywood influence. As a highly visible black star who rejected degrading roles, he was seen as culturally influential. Why the FBI monitored Jim Brown? His outspoken role in the civil rights and black power era, his influence over black athletes and entertainers, his relationships with activists and political figures, his participation in organizing efforts like the Cleveland Summit, 1967, where black athletes supported Muhammad Ali's refusal of the Vietnam draft. The FBI tracked his speeches, public statements, and associations. The files show ideological surveillance, not criminal investigation. In other words, no major crimes, no violent plots, no charges tied to FBI monitoring. Jim Brown wasn't watched because he broke the law. He was watched because he was powerful, unapologetic, and influential, on and off the field. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had an FBI file, not because he committed a crime, but because he was powerful, outspoken, and impossible to ignore. When he was still known as Lou Alcindor, he stood firmly on civil rights. He refused to play the role America wanted from black athletes. He converted to Islam. He changed his name. He spoke openly about racism and injustice. And that was enough to trigger surveillance. The FBI tracked his public statements. They watched his associations. They documented his movements, not to stop criminal activity, but to monitor ideology. This wasn't law enforcement. This was the government keeping tabs on a black man with influence, a mind of his own, and a voice that wouldn't bow. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had an FBI file, not because he committed a crime, but because he was powerful, outspoken, and impossible to ignore. Now the famous singer, songwriter, and poet Gil Scott-Heron was not a criminal. He was a threat to the narrative. His music and poetry attacked racism, war, and government lies. He spoke directly to the people, and the people listened. The FBI monitored his performances. They tracked his lyrics. They watched his associations, not for violence, not for criminal plots, but for influence. Gil Scott-Heron didn't need a weapon. His voice was enough. This wasn't law enforcement. This was the government watching a man who told the truth too clearly and refused to soften it. Public Enemy was on the FBI's radar, not because of crimes, not because of violence, but because their music hit too close to the truth. Their lyrics challenged racism, police brutality, and American power. Songs like Fight the Power weren't just music. They were protest anthems. The FBI monitored their messages. They paid attention to their influence. They studied how millions of young people listened, not for criminal plots, not for illegal activity, but for ideology. This was the late 1980s. Hip-hop had become a weapon of truth, and Public Enemy was leading the charge. The government didn't fear guns. They feared minds being awakened. Stay tuned for more on Celebrity FBI File Watch List by smashing the like and subscribe button.